Hello. Hey. Hi, everybody. Sorry if I have repeated the greeting for the beginning of this social media broadcast or video or whatever I have said. Yeah, speaking correct, proper standard English grammar of the American dialect or not. But then that is irrelevant, as in unimportant compared to what I am about to discuss with you all. Not only persons being on my social media family of subscribers, then likewise any visitors to that being my own immediate personal channel and or chat room or likewise comment section. For there's a much more pressing issue at hand, being a wish should be given that your complete attention, as it is of utmost importance or of an immediate necessity that I myself and or anybody else who had witnessed that of the latest or most recent news report. And as this is involving, we're going to make a reference to, well, obviously, evidently, I'm speed dialing the greeting, you all, so that I could bring to your attentions of the developing crisis overseas, being of which cannot only, or could not only possibly affect that being of our own country or nation of a supposed so-called democratic republic or democracy, but the rest of the global community for that matter. And as it is involving the conflict of interest or the developing crisis between both of the two superpowers being as they are up under the leadership of two presidents. Quite naturally, I myself, being that of my person, am making reference to that being of the USA, the United States of America, and likewise that being of its rival counterpart, being of the former Soviet Union or USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And as it is centering upon that being of the breakaway province of none other than the Ukraine, being of which wants to join NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, to further cement its desire to become that of an official independent country or nation that is not a part of the Russian satellites of countries or nations, being of which are is still up on this wing compared to how many other countries or nations or provinces or whatever they are to be called had broken away from the former Soviet Union or USSR, being of which has supposedly has become that of a democratic republic or democracy, to be compared on to not only Germany being of this neighboring country or nation, but also like that onto the US, that the USA is what I meant to say, or whatever other democratic republics or democracies worldwide, being of which are just so few in number compared on to the dictatorships otherwise. And what has happened most recently, whereas our own president elect or president of the USA, being of a one President Joe Biden, had given that of a special news bulletin address, something like within the last half an hour, give or take some minutes. And whereas he was saying that the president of Russia, President Vladimir Putin, with military troops and likewise their own police, has attempted to instigate a situation or has gone about fabricating some of such supposed or so-called evidence against the Ukrainian military and likewise the Ukrainian police by alleging or accusing Ukrainian military or the Ukrainian militia and the Ukrainian police of having violated the civil and human rights of the Russian citizens of Russia, what I meant to say, under the pretense that there is supposedly evidence that was substantiate their claim, especially when it comes to that of supposedly possible and potential mass genocide having been orchestrated, initiated, and or perpetrated by the Ukrainian military and likewise the Ukrainian police. That's what this present social media broadcast video is about. To inform one and many, whosoever, regardless of race or walk of life, faction, or society, lifestyle preference, and being of the old, young, alike, of both two sexual genders, how that World War III could possibly be upon the horizon and be ready to break out due to a misunderstanding between the two superpowers and the two leaders of the two superpowers within this post 911 era, apocalyptic day and age, these biblically prophetic times for a new millennium, whereas the doomsday clock is now at a couple of few minutes to midnight compared on to our former previous prior to then it was a quarter midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times. And whereas President Vladimir Putin, he wants to pull one of those Adolf Hitler military campaigning moves or a number by having the Soviet or Russian military and likewise their own police to fabricate evidence that Russian citizens were mistreated by supposed so-called monsters of the Ukrainian military troops and likewise of the Ukrainian police. And this is a very scary situation, if you ask me, even for a believer in God as I myself am to have to think about. Not to mention how much more then it should be for that being the person or a person of an unbeliever. And because unlike the likes of them, we have our salvation, being of the few of us real or true Christians, compared unto how the majority of most are nothing but closeted devil worshippers. But anyway, though, getting back to the subject matter topic of discussion or argument at hand, and it don't look like a good picture for the world, at least the world scene. And that's where I felt it was my need to inform one and many. Like I said before, so I say again, regardless of race or walk of life, faction or society, lifestyle preference, and being of the old and young alike of both two sexual genders. And because it's really starting to heat up so far as you know, that being of the conflict of interest between the two superpowers. And if anybody know of any survivalist preppy organizations, then could you please inform my person, was I have yet to get back on that bandwagon. And at one time or another, I was trying to become be a survivalist preppy, but then after a while, I kind of put it to the side, was I have yet to rejoin. Then the good book says, "He that loves his life shall lose it. He that loses life for my sake shall find it." I'm not trying to be, you know, right? Then first preservation is supposed to be the law of nature. How can you help anybody else if you're not helping yourself? You know what I'm saying? So I just thought to bring it to your attention, you all. You can take it for whatever you want, you know. Some of you may say, "Oh, they've been saying this for years," but you never know. They've been saying for years that all Adolf Hitler wanted was a soapbox or podium, to flex his wings to see how high he can soar within the political rings of politics. But then we have witnessed what that turned out to be, him declaring war on the whole world. And with the aftermath of not only 6 million Jewish persons having been massacred, but then a whole lot of other persons as part of mass genocide being carried out. Now, this is not one of my better subject matters to speak upon, but you know, I just thought to share that with you all regardless. You know, because that's what real men do. You know, not anybody that is, like sitting on their laurels, misrepresenting manhood that have yet to man up. I mean, if you're with our human species and being on whichever gender, etc., and if you see a social injustice taking place or happening or is about to happen, then it is your sworn obligation or responsibility to report it. Understand what I'm saying? And because anyway, though, I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of I get you. Yeah, but I was gonna, yeah, I was going to go further into this here, but for some reason or another, I'm feeling kind of, oh, I say how you say. I mean, regardless of how they get much beauty rest, I sleep overseas last night, but I should be feeling more awake than this. It's like this one neighbor from damn hell, a probably knew some problem neighbor, that's throwing a monkey wrench in that program as well. In the process of my person trying to think to broadcast this here of an important news break or news bulletin, you know. Anyway, though, just think if World War III were to break out between the two superpowers, I really don't know what I myself, then that my person, am going to do, Then because I haven't practiced becoming or being a survivalist preppy And I don't know how long it's been since the last time I was, storing up, stockpiling different item products for that bit of my own personal survival in the event that, yeah, but it shouldn't be that hard, being because seeing how I've had experience with that before compared with others who are just a new kid on the block. No, it's a yeah. And so that's pretty much it. Well, what I had to say. Yeah. Sorry, it seems to be nine now. Where's my, get some my what you call my coffee candy to bring me up out of this knot. As I suspect, you know, this one proverbial neighbor from hell, a publicity problem neighbor, is responsible for it. Anyway, though, getting back to what I was saying, so our own president of the USA, president of the United States of America, had lately or most recently had come upon the airwaves claiming that Vladimir Putin is attempting to do an Adolf Hitler. Same trick that that late poor Nazi Germany had done or did. Whereas he had his own German military and German police find some of such dead soldiers and officers of the opposition and then planted them, you know, within the borders to appear that as if the opposition was attempting to invade Germany just so that they themselves can or could possibly have an excuse to pour German military troops into Poland before World War II was to break out. So here is that President Vladimir Putin has claimed, or so alleged, that Ukrainian military troops, as well as Ukrainian police, have supposedly committed barbaric acts of civil and human rights violation offenses against Soviet or Russian citizens there. And to complement what he was saying or to back his argument up, whereas the Russian military and the police up under his orders has started to evacuate Soviet or Russian citizens from that province of the Ukraine. Yes, so that they could have a legit excuse to set foot in there. Because what they really want to do is to, make war against the Ukraine, then conquer it, then bring it back into the Soviet or Russian or whatever some such country or nation is supposedly called nowadays. And simply being that because, if they were to take the Ukraine, it would give our own U.S. troops and our allies less of a chance to prove to become or be a threat onto its rival counterpart being of that other superpower, being of none other than Russia. Formerly, that being of, what do I say? Formerly, that being of the Soviet Union or the USSR. And I have yet to get back into survival preppy training mode. Start stocking up food of different sorts of types and getting different personal hygienic items and different you know medical products. You know, and so far as the bomb shelter is concerned, well, that's a different story because I don't have one. Yeah, and I myself personally would have to look online at that or something starts getting on the time to find out whosoever and how many of you know, not only veterans, survivors, preppies, but also you know the what you call newly made survivors, preppies, or amateur survivors, preppies, then of whom could possibly compare onto the professional or veteran survivors, preppies. Because you never know when, if and when World War III could practically and possibly be on the verge of breaking out. You know, because if it were to, just consider what the aftermath would be. People or persons raiding stores, getting into arguments and fist fights and then some over the last remaining, over some sort of last remaining item products of the different ones or source of types upon store shelves, you know. And then there's a case of how gun shops, let's say gun shops, well, I meant to say something like that. Gun shops will be raided. Then I remember the aftermath of the last, call that, well, it could be considered as a race riot, as it was a result of the developments of a black male being killed by a racist redneck dirty cop. Not that all white person are racist rednecks. Anyway, though, getting back to what I was about to say, you say so now. And whereas being that because of the riots that had happened nationwide as a result of those developments, and whereas, you know, that being of not only the police but the military had to be called in, or in some places more than others, some that, and it had become some such of a tragic incident, a situation up under conditions such as it was the case of extenuating circumstances, whereas there were that many less stores to pay a visit to, that is to pay for item products for your own personal survival and your family survival and any friends of your family, being because the rioters were out there ransacking businesses, destroying property and shoplifting item products from the different store address locations, and I remember how it was quite hard on me alone personally. But that could possibly or probably is an understatement, and I half the cases. But I remember having to go to a fast food place all out of my way, being because I couldn't find the nearest store that I could make a purchase of, some or such, be considered otherwise. So just think about what I said, you all. I mean, I do have somewhat of a supply of groceries, but it wouldn't be compared on to being the survivalist preppy trainee as I was back then. Sure, it may what I got in here, you know, my place of residence may possibly last me for you know from let me see now from half a month to 2 or 3 weeks in the event that World War III were to break out, for that matter, let alone if another race riot were to develop, become a result of some such other, you know, during the time frame period of the aftermath of an event or incident that being which could happen once again nationwide. And that's just on a short term basis. And whereas I could not only eat some of the most, or be known about some of the most current food item products of a different sort, but also by means of some, if not all, being nourishing substances, being of which could possibly have went past the expiration date. Now, compared to how some have said otherwise, then there are those who tend to differ that. If you have some canned products that have went past the expiration date and that are from 1 year to 2 years old, it could still be possibly eatable, and some say that it is eatable. Whereas I'm one of them persons, I don't trust anything of a food item product, be it canned or not, canned and put in my kitchen cabinets or frozen in my fridge that has gone past the expiration date for a time frame period of, at the minimum, maybe a couple few months, at the maximum half a year. That's just me. But in the event uh, something like even so a race riot, whereas the aftermath could possibly have one in many witnessing the effects of something so negative of an incident, let alone something worse yet, like you know, an atomic or nuclear war that could affect all of the global community and not just us as American citizens nationwide for our own supposed so-called democratic republic or democracy, whereas dirty cops are still popping brothers in the back and kneeling on brothers' knees. Dirty cops are racist rednecks, especially when it comes to black brothers. Yeah, let alone if, in other words, World War III were to break out. So I'm gonna have to get back into survivalist preppy mode. soon enough because if this were to freak out a believer in God as I am, or kind of have goose pimples forming on your arm, then how much more it will put the scare, the fear of God in an unbeliever, non-believer. You know. So that's pretty much so what this present social media broadcast or video was about, you all. I just thought that it was my obligation and responsibility to inform as many as possible before World War III was to break out, to let you know I myself am back at square one for a person who at one time or another was a survivalist preppy. I don't know why I thought to become one at that given time, like years ago, and all the while knowing that I'm a believing God, but that's what I decided to do just in case. But then the good book, God's Word, the Bible, the basic instructions before leaving earth, we God make reference to salvation and deliverance in Christ, our Lord and Savior, the Messiah delivered, the Rabbi or rabbis, the King of Kings, the Prince of Peace, the Lord of Lords. You know, whereas it says in this word that those who seek to save their lives shall lose it, and those who find their and those who lose their lives for my sake shall find it, rather than my men say. Sorry about that. Prince of Peace continue regular my mind compared to how the Prince of Darkness to complete my peace. And as I think of it with that in my mind, still try to backtrack here with reason of purpose of being. And also I can go into follow to continue for where and when that my person that last step off. So I can finish up as a complete form of previous prior line talking that same system. So since I was last a survivalist preppy, like for some reason or another, whereas at one given moment in time I thought to become or be one for a little while then. For some such other reason or another, I decided against continuing on to become or be a survivalist preppy. Whereas from there, I just stopped. I just stopped that kind of action of storing up stuff and so forth. Not to the point or extent whereas I would be considered as a hoarder. I don't mean like that, but mainly what I would need and what I would want. But from there, I just started to rely on my faith in God that much more once again. You know, as the just shall live by faith, not by sight. And God has not given us a spirit of fear. But in times like these, nobody really knows what they would do. Even so, in the event that a race riot were to break out nationwide, so how much more can it be said and or stated for the record in the event if a world war could possibly break out, and this one would be World War III. So if I myself, as a believer in God, am contemplating to once again try to become a survivalist preppy, then you know one can only imagine how this would be a great concern on to an unbeliever, non-believer, to have to consider or think that World War III could break out between the two superpowers over a third world country or nation. Then that's pretty much all that I have to say to you all for now, and I'll keep you updated. You know, as I would think to review matters or view or watch another news broadcast. I can't say when. I mean, I don't watch the news too early, because I don't want to start my day off the wrong way. Then neither or nor do I watch it too late, because I don't want to have any additional nightmares than what I could possibly already have as a believer in God. So how much more you think I have some or such if I was still an unbeliever, non-believer? Then disregard or ignore any internet trolls popping up in my comment section with their spam, and how much more any proverbial neighbors from damn hell, that you can hear in the background, making with the interruptions, attempting to sabotage this present social media broadcast or video of mine. Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah. But anyway, though, last but not least, as you all know, I'm sorry about the compulsion. This was my science about getting back to something. As I would usually, you know, give that of a basic intro for any of my social media broadcasts or videos. Well, hopefully, at least one third of some or such I have gone about doing just that. if not more than that, to be considered being a half or most, if not all. Then likewise it can be said and stated for the record. I would also speak upon at least one subject matter or topic of discussion to be debated, for a given argument with the many different views and opinions there are to be affiliated, associated with, and representing. That being the same as said question of the former accused for prior mention. And then last but not least, I will give the close as in to speak in conclusion of the matter. And so I come to this point of the discussion as it is to conclude, you know, as I would usually do just that and saying. Well, so I paraphrase, even so, it's not quote exactly, and that is by saying, in more words or less. If you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing or realizing what He Himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of some such Roman soldiers up on the orders of their superiors, religious or otherwise, political, militaristic, etc. The Pharisees and Sadducees, the Congress of the proletariat of the ancient Roman Empire, or Caesars, as well as centurions, etc. Then that's where he went to that cross to Calvary, become a perfect sacrifice, only sacrifice for you as well as for me. So that anyway, being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, fashion, society, or lifestyle preferences, being an old, young, like both two sexual gender, male and female, represent not only the global that represent. Excuse me, I'm bad. Prince Pete continue raving on my mind compared to how Prince Doctor and typical. I think I'm able to that my city backtrack here. Reason no purpose being in the world so that I can go on following continue for when that my person that last left off so I can finish up as in Cleveland, a former previous flatline. Represent not only the human species but the global community of both the two sexes, male and female alike. Whereas if any of us were to profess faith in them, from there we become be blessed in one regard or another. More ways one. First and foremost with his salvation, then his deliverance. Where we had the insurance that we don't have to worry about ending up in the lake of fire down hell, but we will be assembled with other believers as citizens of the kingdom of heaven. You all take care. Peace.